Hey, good afternoon. It's Ken Walls, and I'm here to, I'm trying to go live over on Instagram as well. There we are. Now we're live on Instagram. We are live everywhere. Today, I have a special edition I'm doing. This isn't really Breakthrough Walls, but you're going to have some breakthroughs because I have the amazing Julie Roy joining me to talk about her new book. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Here we go. If she might be busy sharing this out, though. Anyway, do me a favor, share this out. You want to get a bunch of people on here. This woman is amazing. So here we go. Julie Roy, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ken, how are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you for jumping on here with me for a little bit.
Awesome. I'm still trying to figure out how to do my edition of you on my Facebook. So I'm just going to smile here, chatting with you, trying to figure this out.
Just refresh my page. You'll see the video down there, and underneath it, click share.
Yeah, so I did. And oh, there I am. Awesome. Okay, here we go. So we will share that.
Oh, that's so funny.
Our peeps can see that. And then
There
do
we
you
go.
need me to share that on Insta too, or how?
Nah, you don't need to right now. It's okay.
Perfect. Okay, so it should be working.
Good. So Julie, you were on my show, I don't know, a couple, 2-3 months ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was about 2 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Not long ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And today is a huge day for you because today you have now become a published author. You want to show everybody your book? Look at that. The Multi-Million Dollar Mompreneur. Hold it back up again so I can see the subtitle. Your Guide to Business Mastery, Uncommon Freedom, and Legacy Wealth. There we go. So congratulations to you for the new book. Why don't we talk about, I really want people to understand, because I understand where you come from and where you've been, but I'm not sure that everybody watching knows where it all started for you. I mean, you have not always been a multi-millionaire mompreneur.
No, I sure have not been. Not the preneur part, none of it. So I started, oh goodness, well, it's about 30 years now. As crazy as that is. Yeah, I started my first entrepreneurial venture in the basement of my mom's house first. That kind of was even a prelude to the basement of the church. But so I was working in a Montessori preschool, just teaching before and after school while I was trying to get a law degree, which I later dropped. But anyway, so I was working and I fell in love with the Montessori method. And I always loved kids and just the learning and everything that was happening in there. I was like, absolutely, if I ever have kids, my kids are going to Montessori. Like that was it. I was like, I love it. And then as I started working, I became an assistant, a teacher. I started to do the tours. I started to take on administrative duties. And I was like, I love this and I want to do this for the rest of my life. Against all the advice, right? Against all the advice of people saying, don't quit law school. You're not going to make any money as a teacher, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, I was like, I don't care. I want to do what I love for the rest of my life. And so I took the leap. The Montessori school that I was working at in the summertime, Ken, they didn't have anywhere for the kids to go because they closed in the summer. So I was like, bing, entrepreneurial thoughts. So I had them come to my mom's house and I literally did a makeshift classroom in the basement of her house. And we lived in a middle to lower income. These kids had money. They came from different backgrounds than us. And so their parents all brought them to my mom's house. We're super excited that I was going to offer this program. Ken, it went so far as like the backyard, we had a public park and a cemetery. And we used to take the kids to recess. Like that was our recess. We used to have them outside in this public park. And I think I had initially, I think it was 9 kiddos. And then we ended up with like about 13 who followed me to the
Wow.
church. But yeah, so we started, my mom's basement started with just dollar store items. I made a lot of the materials.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when I got the idea of moving it into like, well, when my mom was like, that's enough kids in our house. We need to find somewhere for you to do this, not here. And so I ended up getting a loan. I was like, I had no money. I came back from Europe. I was super broke. I owed my mom money, like, all the things you do when you're
Yeah.
a college student. And
Yeah.
I went looking for money and was like, where am I going to find money to do this? I need to have a startup loan. And, no one gives you money when you don't have any money. That's just how stuff works in the world.
Yeah.
When you have money, everyone's like, I don't even know how many credit cards a day. Like, do you want to apply for this, apply for that? I'm like, man,
Yeah.
if I only had one of those back then,
Right.
like literally zero credit score, probably like terrible. Right. So,
Yeah.
so I ended up reading the newspaper. I always read the newspaper. It was the thing I did back. That can age me right there. But
Right.
so I was reading the newspaper and I was reading the classifieds because I used to look for whatever jobs I could find to add into my continue my
Right.
income pile. And I saw this thing that said business credit available, call da 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 da. I'm like, this is perfect. This is what I need. So I called and he was like, yeah, come and meet me downtown. We have a very small office downtown. And I was like, okay, this sounds a little sketch, but at this point, what's my options? So scrappy little hood girl goes down there. I brought my boyfriend,
God.
Bo, who's now my husband of 20 some years. But I was like, look, I think you should come. I'm not sure. Like, I'm a girl, you know what I mean? Going into this downtown, and there was like a sketchy address, like all the things. I was like, oh God, I don't know if even what this is going to be about. So he's like, okay. So we get there. It's like this burgundy crucky door that's like in an alley behind McDonald's in downtown Windsor. So if anyone knows where that is, my Canadian peeps on here, you know what I'm talking about. And I opened the door. It's like cricky. It had this like swingy lamp. Like think of like horror Stephen King entry, novels.
Wow.
And this crickety desk with him behind the desk. And he's like, sits us down, looks at Bo and says, like, he said, this is what we can offer you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, perfect. I only need 25 grand. I can set this up with 25 grand. I had researched how much materials would cost. I researched how much rent I would need. I spoke with the church. They were like, we need $1,500. You're going to have to move in and out your stuff every day because we have night activities. I'm like, fine, we'll make this work. So, but I didn't even have $1,500, right? So I was like, so he says, yeah, we'll do this. Then he looks at Bo and he says, so how much do you love this girl? And he's like, I mean, we were dating for a few years. It was definitely
like, she's okay.
She's right. He's like, I don't know. And he said, well, just so you know, like if she doesn't pay, because he had to co-sign. I had nothing. He was in doing his thesis. So he had like an income, whatever that is when you're doing your psych thesis, I mean, it was just like you to show up, but very little. So, so he's like, he just looks at me and I'm like, yeah, he'll sign. It's fine. Everything's fine here. And so like, yeah, the guy said to Bo, so if she doesn't pay, you're responsible and we'll come after you. And he was like, and I was like, yep, we're good. We're going to make this work. Cause I already knew in my mind, Ken, there was no option, right? Like I needed this loan to get done what I needed to do. And I knew with the number of kids and the rent, if I got the loan, I could do this and give the payment of $500 a month back to his name was Malcolm Banks. It was probably fake, but whatever. That was what he called himself back in the day. And we later found out he was very sharky and all the things, but we paid that loan off the first year. And I went, negative 25 grand to at least paying the loan off, went from 13 kids registered in August to 75 by the end of the year, was busting. Yeah, we were like taking every nook and cranny of the church, continuing to expand our license so we could offer more care. And we would bring all the materials out, Ken, and take them all back in. So Bo would come quickly after his job, mop the floors so we could get ready for they had brownies and, churches, there's things for all things. So we had to stash all the stuff every night. And then I'd have to come and set it up in the morning. And we did that.
How long did you do that?
a couple years, maybe 2 or
Wow.
3, initially 2, maybe, I think, every
Yeah.
day. And well, after the first year we were busting out. So I knew I had to look for
Wow.
another location, but we needed, to make sure it would be profitable and all the things. So, but
Wow.
that's how it started. And we had to get it rezoned to be appropriate for childcare, like just a lot of business things that you don't know what you don't know in the beginning. And man, some of those lessons are hard and they're arduous and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you did it. You outside of the $25,000 loan,
Mhm.
you did it totally guerrilla, grassroots, boots on the ground marketing and building.
Yeah. So in the very, very beginning, I started with that $25,000 loan, but we organically grew um,
Yeah.
everything. Now, I won't say we didn't ever have any more loans. Like we
Yeah.
definitely borrowed from family after, paid
Yeah.
them back as we were expanding. We took operational, cash that we had saved to start another way, just quickly
Yep.
one building 1 hour at a time. Sometimes it
Yep.
was real tight. In the interim as well, I had 4 babies in 6 years, and I had
Jeez.
4 schools. So everyone would laugh and say, "Oh no, Julie's having another baby because we're starting another school." And literally every time I had a school, I was
Wow.
pregnant. So it was, yeah. So it was,
Bo needs to settle down.
yeah, or Julia, whatever. We're not
Or
going to go.
Ju- you
So,
said or
but
Julie.
I wanted 6 kids, and Bo wanted 2, and so
Oh
we
my gosh.
with 4.
Oh my gosh. That's so fun. That
Yeah.
is hilarious. So hold your book up again for everybody watching. So she just released this today, and it's the Multi-Million Dollar Mompreneur. So Julie, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
I've written several books. I help people with their books. I've done all kinds of, books with people. And I always ask, like, what's your reason for wanting to write this book? What's your why? Because most people don't get rich off of book sales, right? So what's your why? What's the reason that you wanted to write this book? What's the message? And I'm giving you full screen for this. What's the message that you want to send out to everybody that reads it?
So there's a few things in the book that I really wanted people to know about, but mainly, honestly, Ken, I want to create inspiration for folks that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurial. I want to give them some really great examples of things we did really well, and then we did some, I want to give them some examples of things we we really didn't do well, and I really wanted them to have the information that I didn't have when I could have used it. So
Mm,
I think it's really important to have mentorship and to, if you can, compress timelines in business by not
yeah.
making, really hard mistakes that can put you back, quite a bit, money, time, all the things. And so I just really wanted, especially in this next half of my life, like I just turned 50 in December. So it's been a really big, I know it's just a number, but for me, I'm halfway, right? Because I'm living to
Yeah.
100. I'm halfway to what I have to offer the world. And so the next half, I really wanted it to be focused on my generosity, creating abundance for me, but also for others. I want to make sure the information goes out to folks. I want to make sure that I can help other people. I really truly believe that what I've done wasn't only for me, it was to show others that they could do it. I mean, I came from a single mom, she worked a ton of jobs. We didn't have a lot. We had to always work. My parents were both Italian immigrants, first generation. I was first generation. So I spoke
Wow.
Italian before I spoke English to my grandma. She didn't speak English for a while.
Wow.
And so, but their hard work and ethic and just the way that we were brought up to work hard meant you got things, right? Like if you worked, you
Yep.
got things. So for
Yep.
me, it was like, how much more work can I do? Because I want a lot of things. At that point,
Right.
that's I want to get out of this situation. I want to have this. I want to do like these other kids that I'm going to school with, or, whatever. And so I was the first, I believe I was the first generation millionaire in our family. Unless someone's not told me something I'm going to find out later. I don't know.
Right.
So far, yeah. So the purpose for the book came from, I think, a lot of things, but even just honoring my grandparents that, did that trek from Italy into Ellis Island to Detroit, Michigan, to Canada to provide the life that we have. We would not be here. We would be living a very different life in Europe.
Yep.
I don't know what that would look like, but super grateful, right, for the journey, for their journey.
That's so awesome. Your story is so inspiring. I had a guy on my show yesterday who is an entrepreneur like you and me, and we talked. He's experienced massive success with this thing, but we were talking and just about how it can be really, really difficult to be an entrepreneur, but the payoff is incredible if you have the stick-to-itiveness, right? Were there times along the journey, because just and I'm going to give a spoiler alert, you ended up selling that first company for 8 figures, right? Like it was, and for those of you that don't know what 8 figures is, it's more than 10 million. So
less than 100 million.
And less than 100 million, right? So you sold it for $99 million. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. But you sold it for, whatever, and probably left you feeling like, okay, wow, check this out. We just got this big old check or whatever. And talk about, though, the times before you sold it where you were like, there's no way I'm surviving. We're not going to make it. We're done. Because I've been there. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, numerous times,
Right.
So a couple things I tell all entrepreneurs. I try to mentor folks as much as I can, especially when they ask me things when they're in those time periods, right?
Yeah.
The first thing I always tell entrepreneurs, or I share, is that your mindset will make or break your journey as an entrepreneur. I don't care what else happens, money, people, issues, staffing. If your mindset is not in the right place and you cannot focus on the wins that you have and the things that are happening that are good in your life, you can really get in a really bad place. So the first thing I say, like, we have to fix your mindset. That's the number one thing. So 100%, like Nick says, he's joining in here. Hi, Nick. It's really important for your mindset to be right in all areas of life, not just your business. So believing in yourself, number one, because there are lots of times where nobody else will be believing in you, and what you're focused on and what you think this goal or target needs to look like has to come from within. So I really
I want to ask, and I know you're going down a road, but I'm going to stop you for a second because I want you to expand on that. I know so many people who they go through life smiling and doing the deal, just doing it, they're reacting to life.
Yeah.
What about the people who maybe were severely abused, or they were made fun of because they were too short, or they were too tall, or they were too fat, or they were too skinny, or too whatever? What about all the people who don't believe in themselves because they're still believing in that story? How do you help them, or can you?
So I was probably called all those things, including least likely to succeed, for real. I'm not even kidding. I probably have gone through that gamut in my life at some point. Puberty, high school, young. Italians are really, really straightforward. They're going to say stuff whether you like it or not. Oftentimes they think it's for your benefit. Sometimes it's hurtful. My grandpa was very straight all the time and just said stuff. A lot of it was great. Some of it was, had a little stinger, but it made me who I am. And I really believe that it's what you do with the information, and so if something has hurt you in the past, first of all, I don't live in the past. It's a quick, and there's a rear view window, and there's how big the front windshield is. I don't look at little tiny rear view mirror. It has nothing to do with who I am today or who I will be. And so I think you have to erase that little rear view mirror. It's not functioning for me. I don't look at that. And I honestly take anything that was an adversity in my life. I have taken it, embraced it, and made the change. So it's never an issue for me or my kids again. And so I feel like that is something that I had to really focus on, because even financially, like where we are today, you have financial trauma in your life. The way you learn about money can make or break your future about what you do with your money. Not having the right information, which is why I wrote the book. Not having the financial literacy. We didn't grow up in a family that was teaching investments and saving to invest. And we didn't have, I don't even know if we had the money to be able to do that, honestly. But what you come from has a lot to do with whatever's in that back of your mind. I mean, even if you pull through it, oftentimes those little glimpses will come up, or I'll realize and notice, and whoop, I stop myself and redirect, because it is really hard to get that stuff out of your mind. But you have, like I said, you have to have that mindset that that's not going to be the indicator of your present or your future. It's, and it's hard for people, because I've gone through a lot of adversity. Like my life was not perfect, at all. And again, I've taken the adversity and created abundance out of learning through that adversity and knowing how, just really working on it, honestly, working on my mindset, working on the things that I just don't believe anymore, and had to get away from different people and had to leave things that were comfortable, and, keep people out of my life that are not part of growth or adventure or change. So it's hard.
It can be challenging for sure. And it's something that, I think that people that get stuck there, they're not putting in the work to change.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Well, yeah. And it needs to be a daily effort. I'm still putting in that work every day. Every morning I talk about how grateful I am to myself about what's happening around me. Every morning I say the same thing. I'm grateful and thankful for everything I have. I wish health, wealth, and happiness for me, my family, and everyone around us. That's what I say every single day. And so it starts the day with this belief of like, it's good for me, but I also want to impact others. And so I want to make sure that message is first and foremost in my mind, because it also leads my integrity. In business, it leads my mission, vision, value. We have family mission, vision, value. I think I showed you before. You can see it at the door there, that black plaque when you walk in the front door. It says exactly what we expect as a family here in this house. And one of it was, obviously it's to be a good human first. That's always the things we tell our kids. But we have big, lofty goals, right? One of our goals was visiting all of the continents together. So we have just finished the 7th continent. We just, did the Drake Passage, went to Antarctica. So there's a lot of things that if you put your mind to it and you work towards things, there's a way to do everything. Do you have to give up some stuff? Sure. Like you might not be able to buy the car or the this or the that, right? We talk about assets versus liabilities too. And we've had to really teach our kids that assets are very different than liabilities. And so when you have an asset should create cash flow for you. It should be something that gives you something back. If you're buying a liability, that liability often does not. So people say, oh, the American dream is to buy your own house. So kids get out of college, they're in a ton of debt. Then they buy a house with more debt. Then they buy a car with more debt because they feel entitled that they went to college. They earned this, right? But they start with an insurmountable amount of debt, and it's very exhausting to try to continually figure out how you're going to live this life. And so we said to our kids, look, like, we don't want you to start off that way. So we don't even want you to buy a house. Literally, I do not suggest anyone should buy a house, especially out of college. I say, buy a fourplex. Right now, they're giving 5% loans to first-time home buyers. Buy a fourplex, live in one for free, have the other 3 renters pay for your mortgage and your living. And then anything net or left over from that investment, take, save, reinvest. Keep doing this. My kids are 18 and 19. They own their own real estate. They own multifamily apartment buildings. It's
Wow.
about what you teach them. And unfortunately, the schools aren't teaching this stuff. Like
Nope.
it breaks my heart because they're teaching a very different lifestyle and a very different path for families and kids. They're not teaching them that there's other ways to do this much more efficiently and much better for them in the long run. So our kids are a little bit different. They think differently. That does cause social issues sometimes because kids are like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?
Right.
So
Right.
it's been a journey for that, for sure.
Well, I think, and you and I were talking about this a little yesterday, but I think that once people realize that, like the public school system, the education system, it was originally created to make factory workers for the super wealthy. And I'm not, I mean, look, here's the thing, because Jim Keyes, the former CEO of 7-Eleven and Blockbuster, is a friend of mine. He just wrote a book too, and talks about education being so important. I think that what education is important, right? But it's getting the right education that's important.
Yeah, unfortunately, the education we have today hasn't changed for hundreds of years. And we are in a very, very different world than we were even 10 years ago, Ken. So the kids, they can YouTube anything they want to figure out. You have a
1000%.
information machine, and you just ask, I don't even want to say her name because she'll probably put her input in every time she sees me, but you can just ask for it. It comes up. My daughter, she has a problem in math at school. She doesn't ask the teacher. She comes home and YouTubes this guy she likes who teaches math on this channel, which she understands, she says, better. And she just learns that way. There's an insurmountable amount of resources now that are finger-tipped. The way that we have education running, the traditional systems, they are not offering and will not be able to keep up. There's no way. So there will be an expiry date for traditional education as it looks today. I don't even give it 5 years. I don't think it's going to last, because the way that, and the things that we're teaching in school that are absolutely not, they're theoretical, but they're not real life. These kids can't use this information in real life. And so what happens is the kids start to feel like they're going to school and it's not worthwhile. Like my daughter she's in 7th grade now. She comes home and she'll say to me, I said, oh, how was your day? Da, 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 da. And, she'll say things like, well, nothing was translatable to real life, or things like,
my daughters.
They're understanding like that. This is not what's going to get them to the next goal of theirs. Like for my kids, they want to open businesses. They want to run businesses. They want to do all these things. They're not interested in sitting down and learning about stuff that happened maybe 1,000 years ago that they can't implement today, or the way that, I don't know, like teach kids how to write a check. Maybe they don't even need that now. Maybe teach them how to do a transfer on ACH, maybe how to do a wire. I mean, I don't know.
How about cursive? They're not teaching cursive writing anymore.
And honestly, that part doesn't bother me as much because now
it bothers me.
Keyboards and things, I get it. But what I really feel like we're not teaching our kids is we're not setting kids up to be shepherds. We have a lot of sheep, right? We're teaching kids to just do what everybody else tells them to do. They don't think outside the box. That's why I love Montessori. It gives you so many options to follow the child, right? I wish we had more learning styles and schools that were more like that, where you have a problem, it's inquiry learning, you're interested in something, and you can gain that. But we could go down a rabbit hole on education. But my big thing about education is this: I don't even know if I believe in college at this point, Ken. So I said to my kids, if you're going to go to college, you'll go to college because you need it for your work. So if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, things that you need a certification for. If you think you want to be an entrepreneur, business school, like my son is taking business right now. I said, well, at least do something while you're figuring out what you want to do. At least learn how to do a P&L. At least learn how to do, I don't know, learn about marketing or social media. And 2 nights ago, we were here chatting and he says to me, we were just talking about, I was telling him how an investment works, and we were really talking about the minutia of the investment, because he's very interested in like the cap rates and how do you manage, and how should you buy in this kind of environment. And so we got into the weeds, really. It was like ended up being like 2-hour conversation. And he stops and he said, I just want to tell you, like, I've spent 2 years in college and nothing I've learned has taught me anything about this. And so that's what hurts me, right? Like, I'm thinking, if he just sat by the phone and heard me all day, or heard, Bo and us negotiating. And so I really have a hard time with the translatable skills in college. And his professor said to him, never take out any debt. It's terrible. He's very he's Dave Ramsey, believes in all that. And so my son said, oh, well, my mom's a multi-million dollar mompreneur, and she's leveraged debt her whole life. And so I said, right, but they don't understand from bad, and so it's kind of always this line we walk of, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, that's
it's challenging for sure.
I mean, there is good debt and there is bad debt.
Yeah.
So, and Grant talks about that a lot too. So,
Sure.
okay. So you wrote the book in hopes of people,
helping other people, so that they could not only compress the timeline, Ken. So the first sale took me 10 years. I didn't even finish the story. Then I, quote unquote, retired for about 29 seconds, started some homes, did a bunch of stuff. Then I had a non-compete in Canada. So I was like looking for schools in the States. I missed the preschools. I missed the life. I missed leading people. So I had a few brokers looking for me at optional businesses. And I got something across my desk, and it was a group of schools in Omaha, Nebraska. And I think we mentioned this on the last podcast, but I was like, this sounds great. I took a plane, got out here, looked around for about, 30 minutes, met with the owner. I really liked the financials, and I really thought there was a lot of potential. She was 80 some, so she was looking for a legacy for her schools. Yeah, I fell in love with the idea, right, of really helping these schools catapult into a different dimension. And Omaha was really a sweet town. I thought it's a city, I guess, but it had that smaller town feel. People seemed to be really nice. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. So I came home and told my husband, and we called it Oklahoma for 6 months because I'm Canadian. I had no idea that was separate, but anyway, we know now. But so I commuted every Monday through Thursday, left 4 kids at home. Bo was running a big practice, and I was going back and forth. And I did that for about 2 years. And then, so the first set took me 10 years to build. And then we sold to private equity in 2011. The second set I started over here in 2019. By 2021, we had offers of private equity when I was opening what I thought would be the last school in Omaha, because we were kind of infiltrating the market at that time. It was the 10th school. It was kind of like a passion project. It happened during COVID. It was this big, beautiful alumni house. It looked like Hogwarts. It was incredible. I was like, this is going to be my hurrah, right? And literally finished that school May 1st, May 28th, sold to private equity. And so took the sale. I sold all the schools to private equity. In combination, I had them sign a triple net lease. So for 15 years. And now, of course, this is a company that has a lot more clout than I did as a private owner. Then I sold all of the real estate to a REIT with those triple net 15-year leases in place. So then I took the money from the real estate.
Jeez.
And I 1031 did into a bunch of triple nets. So now we own, numerous Starbucks, O'Reilly's, Taco Bell's, Kinder Cares, learning experiences. We have a big portfolio that we own, Bo and I, and our family on our own. And then, and so we live 100% passively off the income of that rent. And then then we got a big tax bill, because I didn't know, that you could get a tax bill from passive income. So then we got this.
Oh my gosh.
Or we were alerted we were going to have a big tax bill. And I was like, oh no, we need to fix this. So then I found Grant. Obviously he was one of I followed him for a long time, Grant Cardone. I'm a one-on-one student of his. So I pay a lot of money for really great mentorships, to cut through all the minutia. But more than we started buying apartment buildings because it offered bonus depreciation, so we could eradicate all the tax that we were bringing in from the passive income. So now we live passive income, tax free. And I was like, ooh. And so whatever the net is, we kind of just keep cycling into new and more real estate. And then people were like, Julie, I want to join you. How can I buy stuff with you guys? And so the multifamily, I'm not an expert in, but I loved the idea of the eradication of tax. So I often will co-GP with a strong operator that's usually vertically integrated with property management. And then I started a small boutique real estate investment syndication firm where we'll bring in really good friends, family, investors that want to be in with us. It's small. We usually do 15 to 30 investors a deal. And they buy Starbucks with us and all kinds of stuff. And so for the past 2 years, because the debt market has been what it is, we've been buying cash. So our folks make cash flow and passive income day one. So that's sort of where we're focused on the real estate side. And then I decided to add a little bit of business coaching for a high level group. I said, I'm only going to take 12 companies. So 24 folks follow us on the Wealth Masters coaching side. I do that for a very small amount of folks that want to just increase their legacy wealth, learn all the things we learned from $300,000 of coaching, and they can learn it for, 30 grand instead. So we take a very small portion of folks to be able to do that with, because I really want to be intimate with them. They have one-on-one with me. We have monthly meetings, but they also have access to me for anything. So I help them analyze deals. I help them grow their portfolio. I just want to help people. I don't know if you've heard that, sort of for the past 10 minutes, but it fills my bucket, and I love to see people succeed around me. And I just love the idea of, I've been able to have a lot of freedom since my sales. And so the ability for me, we kind of talk about something called return on life, right? I'm kind of done with return on investment. It's great. And I'm always entrepreneurial. So that's never going to go away. Like, I'm always looking for the next thing I'm going to do. I'm looking at business. My husband's like, just chill out, girl. Like, celebrate the moment, right? Like today, he's like, celebrate, you wrote this book. It's great. And I'm like, I'm thinking about writing this other book. He's like, Julie, 5 seconds. Just say, like, just enjoy the like, congrats. Let's go for dinner. And I was like, well, no, I have a life tonight. I can't, he's like, for real. So anyway,
oh my gosh.
So return on life, though, it's about no longer just about the financial return on our investment. It has to be about, how are we growing other people? What is this doing for us personally, professionally, as a family? If we're giving up time to do this, then we're saying no to this. So this has to be really, really intentional. And we've always been intentional about our time, but I feel like with this new return on life concept that we've got, it's been even more just a dedication to all the things return on life. So
it's amazing. Since I just looked on your website and I don't see your book on your website.
Yeah, it's going to be up there soon, but we do have a link to Amazon. It's up there today because the launch was today. We had a pre-sale, but today you actually can order it live.
Yeah. So, is there a special link you have redirected to Amazon?
It's just like the Multi-Million Dollar Mompreneur. If you put it in the search, I have a direct link, but it's too long for social, it says. So I don't know.
Okay.
The Multi-Million Dollar Mompreneur. And then it's your guide to business mastery, uncommon freedom, and legacy wealth.
I'm trying. Okay. So the multi-million
dollar.
Sorry, my computer is acting ridiculous. $1 million. Thank you.
And because we're old, I'm gonna put it real close.
Stop. We're not old. The multi-million dollar mompreneur. Okay. Yes. I'm gonna put just that up, and hopefully they can find it easily. Just go search Amazon for the multi-million dollar. You'll find it. You can also just search for Julie Roy, and it comes up that way too.
Cool. Yeah. So and I just saw this morning. It was posted, like Australia picked it up, and a bunch of other countries, which is super.
Do you know that guy, Michael?
Hi, Michael. Thanks.
Michael was Grant's like top sales guy forever. Like
Ah, awesome.
Michael Bonnet is the man. I love that dude. Michael, thanks for stopping by. So Julie, so Grant's your one-on-one coach. You've got that going on. You have all these syndications. You've got real estate, like commercial. Now, when you say you have a bunch of Starbucks and all of that stuff, are you talking about like you own the actual Starbucks or you own the land and the building?
So all of the things I own are corporate entities. So when we buy triple net corporate entity leases. So we're basically buying the land and the building. So Starbucks will say, we have a new Starbucks coming up on 204th and Q. The developers will call me and say, hey, Jewel, are you interested in buying 204th and Q? And then I'm like, I look at everything, go through my checklist of whether or not it fits our avatar. And then I say, oh yeah, I love this. This is a mile from my house. And I go to the one across the street. I'll just go there and support my own tenants. So we ended up buying, but yeah, basically we buy the land and we buy the building. And with a triple net, we're just landlords. So we're not responsible for property taxes, insurance, anything. We are responsible only to provide the building and the land. Now, because I buy off market from the developer normally, what happens is they have a lot of guarantees. So like all the warranties and everything are still intact. So when we're buying a brand new piece of real estate with land. We buy usually 10, 12, or 15-year base leases. So triple net base leases. So we know exactly what's coming in every month. So when we offer it to investors, we're like, okay, if you put in $100,000, we can give you $500 a month for this many months. Then the exit plan is either long holds where you're just going to keep appreciating because all these leases have rent bumps that have been already all dictated. So every 5 years they go up 10%. So you're combating inflation, you're combating anything. Again, we're buying cash, so there's no debt. We don't owe the bank anything. We have full decision-making like capabilities of what we want to do with these companies. And so we have full reign of like, hey, if we want to hold them for 15 years and everybody's happy because they're getting money and the money keeps increasing and their money is appreciating because the land and building, as you know, real estate just appreciates. If you keep it long enough, like Grant said, as long as you don't sell it, if you're not forced to sell real estate, you'll always make money. It's when you're forced, if you're under a bank loan that's expiring or the rate cap is expiring, or so if you have more control over the properties, then it's fairly safe. I mean, unless Starbucks went under. So we have a corporate lease, which means even if they didn't like the location that we have anymore, they say, you know what, we don't like 204th and Q anymore. We're going to close that. They still have to pay me for the length of the base lease, no matter what. So if they walked away tomorrow, unless they closed all the Starbucks in the US, well, if that happens, Ken, we're under way more problems than we have right now. So that's why folks like the triple net piece, because one, we've been buying them for a long time, so we have the experience. Two, we're really buying with no debt right now, which is also very helpful. And then three, the other piece of the debt portion is that there's no debt, but we have these increases already built in. So you're seeing exactly what you're buying with these triple net leases, and it's really transparent for people, right? So they're like, okay, let's do this. Where in multifamily, I love it for the tax part because you don't get as much cost segregation usually on a new build and things like that. I love the multifamily to eradicate the tax, especially when it was 100% bonus depreciation, because the government pays you to help them build housing and oil and gas things. And there's like sections they'll give you bonus depreciation on. But the bonus depreciation right now is actually about 60%. So now we're kind of like at par with the triple net stuff. And it's so much safer in that sense. So if people are choosing, it also depends what your risk level is. What's your tolerance? Do you want monthly income or are you looking for a larger double multiple at the end of the play, right? So multifamily has a lot of things going on, a lot of expenses, a lot of things that go up and down and are changeable. With us, triple net, it's the same. Like you get the same rent every month. There's no change. So it doesn't matter what their income is or what they're making. You're going to get that base rent. So like, for example, a Starbucks, normally you'll get between $12,000 and $15,000 a month for rent. So that rent comes in debt free. So you're
Wow.
getting that right into the ACH. So today, actually, my whole phone just filled up with all the rents. And then tonight I go in and I just, figure out all the stuff that came in, and then it's in your ACH. And then for my investors, the ones we have with investors, that rent comes in, I take it, it goes through cash flow portal. It's already automatic. Everybody gets portioned out their owner percentage, and they just get it in their bank between now and the next 6 days. It usually takes anywhere from 2 to 4 days.
Wow.
And they get every month. And it doesn't change. If you get 502.11 a month, normally it's 502.11 a month, unless there's like, something that's wonky with the balance, but like it's by pennies, right? But you're getting the same thing every month. And so the predictability of that type of investment is really attractive for people, because anybody that's looking to replace an active income with a passive income, they want guaranteed income. Multifamily has less guarantees. There's times where we have to hold distributions because banks want more escrow. So you wait, and then maybe you catch up later in the year, but it's not as consistent. So people that don't want to live off their savings and they want to live off passive income, they need to know exactly what they're making every month. And so this is just a less risky. I'm not saying it's totally risk-free. It's less risky. It's more stabilized. It's more consistent. So people my age, honestly, people like us, they like more of that cash flow and income where, if you're younger, you have a little more time too to be much more risk, attracted, right? So I'm a little more I'm a little more conventional, so especially with other people's money, I'm very, very risk averse. So even with our own, I mean, we have all of our money in every single deal that we do. So we're not just some, back in the corner. We're actually involved. So yeah.
I like, Dominguez says, how do you get started in that? Also, how much is needed for the investment? So my that was actually going to be a question, kind of, is, I had this conversation the other day with somebody, and they said, oh my gosh, to get into real estate, you need so much money up front to even start. And I said, yeah, I mean, I don't have any myself. And I think, why? Like, I should have real estate. What the heck am I doing? But like, how does somebody get started that doesn't have a bunch of money to get started?
Sure. So there's a few things around that. So one, we had a large capital event. So we were forced to start into real estate because it was something we had to do. But my kids, who are young, 18 and 19, they own multifamily on their own now. And so a couple things you can do to start is, one, start making money. So whatever, in a W-2, in a business, whatever, you need to earn an income first.
Yeah, right.
And then forget this part. They're like, oh, how can I get to Z? So first, earn an income. Start. Create an income for yourself, whether that's through a business or a W-2. Really be intentional about the money you spend. Stop buying all the liabilities. Nobody cares what you have. No one's ever going to talk about it ever again. All the things that you think are important are not. You can start buying liabilities once your assets start creating passive income for you. Then you can buy your stuff from that passive income. The problem is people work and they spend money, and they work and they spend money, and they don't save. Now, I know that it's hard if you only have one income, and in today's, inflation and all the things, there's less money at the end of the day. The only way you can change your situation is increasing your top line. Like, everybody's worrying about the expenses and the bottom line. You can't change a lot of that stuff. You can't change what you pay for water. You can't change what you pay for utilities. What you can do is get yourself some extra side jobs, increase that income level. If you want it bad enough, create more income. That's the only way you're going to have more money. We were kind of joking last night. I was talking to my mom. She was reading my book. I was like, okay, you're the first one. Give me the scoop, And so we were chatting. I said, one of the things that we were chatting about, she said, one of her friends had brought some ironing over. My mom's an awesome ironer. I cannot iron like my mom, but she's like, man, that could be an external source of income for me. Like, I'm like, I would give you all my ironing. I would pay you to do that. I pay other people, to come and help me with the house or whatever. And just being ingenuitive about creating alternative income streams, not just from a day job, right? And so, change your income level. That's the first thing you need to do. If you're if you're waiting in a job for your job to change your income level, you have a ceiling. Anybody that's working in a W-2, you have a ceiling. It's going to be a 2 to 3% income increase. we're inflating at 10 to 18%, folks. That is not going to keep up what you need or what you want. So you've got to add other things that make money, both passively and actively, to your life. You need to increase that top line. Then once you have money saved, you keep saving up little pots, then you start dumping that into investments. You start to buy real estates. If it's syndication first, then go for syndication, but choose the right syndicator. There's a lot of crappy folks out there. You have to be really sure you know, like, and trust them. You've seen a lot of things that they've done. You've seen how they act. You know their integrity. Just be really, really cautious about that. But getting started means increasing your income, and then secondarily saving, and then and thirdly or tertiarily investing that money. Stop buying stuff that's, not going to get you where you need to be.
And the whole church stood up and said, amen. I mean, you're 1000% correct. I know you are. So, man, Julie, and for everybody watching, first off, let me give you full screen. I want you to hold your book up again. I'm so happy for you and excited about this. The Multi-Million Dollar Mompreneur, your guide to business mastery, uncommon freedom, and legacy wealth, written by the inimitable Julie Roy. And go grab a copy. Just go to Amazon and search for the Multi-Million Dollar Mompreneur, or go to Amazon and type in, way shorter, Julie Roy. It's a lot easier to type her name in than that book title, but you'll find it, and grab a copy of this book. And as a matter of fact, buy a couple of copies of it and give one away to somebody that you feel like needs some inspiration and guidance in their life and help in their life. So tonight at 6 o'clock
coming up too, Ken. Mother's Day is coming up. Mother's Day is around the corner.
There you go. Great Mother's Day gift. So, I think everybody should know also that we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive tonight on the book on Amazon Live. I'm an Amazon influencer, and I've invited Julie to join me on Amazon, where I'm going to make her crack that book open and read a little bit of it to the audience. So she said, nobody makes me do anything. I'm going to ask her if she'll open up the book, read some of the chapter titles, and share some of it with everybody, because I think this is a powerful book, and I think everybody needs to be reading it. So, Julie, congratulations to you. You're amazing. You're amazing
for all you do and all your help.
Of course.
For help the last few days, especially helping me navigate this new authorship stuff, but always super happy.
Did you say authorship?
Let's just leave it there, Ken.
Right.
Always so grateful for you and your audience, and I love chatting with you. Our problem is we just keep going. But I'm excited to see you tonight, and I'll figure out which part of that book we'll be reading.
Yeah, 6 o'clock Central Time, so 7 o'clock East Coast, 4 o'clock West Coast. Is that right? 4 o'clock West Coast. So join us tonight. You can go to kenwallslive.com, and that's my Amazon Live page over on Amazon, and follow me on there, and your Amazon app will notify you when I'm live. So join us over there, and we'll be putting out a graphic and a link directly to the Amazon video here in a little bit. But Julie, thank you so much for jumping on here today. And thank you to everybody who has watched us. And if you shared this out, thank you for that as well. And we will see you all tonight on Amazon Live. Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Don't hang up on me now. I'm just going to end the live stream. Okay. All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a great day. We'll see you tonight, 6 o'clock Central. Bye-bye.